All right. Hey, everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We are so excited and so happy because we are doing our first ever, and you see us chuckling. We're doing our first ever shout out Sunday, but it took us a little bit to get here.
Hey.
And so we just appreciate your patience,
Hmm.
Deshauna. I just first want to say this again. This is our first shout out Sunday, and we decided sometime. Well, I shouldn't say we decided, but we talked some time ago about doing them and really taking the time to lift up people, individuals, entrepreneurs, businesses, organizations, and everyday folks who are making an impact in our community. Because we are impacted, myself and my husband,
Oh, absolutely.
oftentimes by just seeing what other folks are doing. And we're like, wow, and I wonder, do they know how impactful they are because they're impacting us? And so we say, you know what, we just need to go ahead and do it. And so this is the first one, and it is no mistake. It is not just by willy nilly happenstance. We were very intentional in choosing our first guest because
Oh,
our first guest rocks.
yeah.
She is all of that and a bag of chips. I know that's old
oh
school. She
y'all.
is, and her name is Deshauna Spencer.
Hmm.
So we are just so happy to have you. Welcome. Thank you so much for accepting the invitation.
Hmm.
Thank you for thinking of me to be the first one. I'm honored.
Yes, yes, yes. We're so happy. So I just want to first say this for those who may not know, Deshauna is the CEO, and let me make sure I'm saying this correctly. Is it Lou Karama?
Liu Karama
Liu
Productions.
Karama, just like
Hmm.
it's spelled. Okay. So she is the CEO of Liu Karama Productions, and Liu Karama produces Empower Magazine. It's an online magazine. It's a wonderful, wonderful online magazine, empowermagazine.com, and has she's done all kinds of things. Like I can go down this long list, but I'm just going to name a few things. Outside of her online magazine, she has done a wonderful documentary called Mom Interrupted, right?
Yeah, you had it right.
Mom Interrupted. She has original web shows that she's put out online. She's the host of Empower Hour on WPFW 89.3 FM here in the DMV. And then her newest, greatest, and latest venture is Quality TV, which lovingly nicknamed and termed and coined the Black Netflix.
Hmm.
And so, so we are just like really, really, really happy and excited to have you on. That you were gracious with your presence because you are a power-packed woman, not having done just one or two things, or really looking at a couple of things that you want to play around with. But she is a straight up purpose pusher. Like I'm moving and shaking,
Hmm.
doing some things to really kind of change the landscape of where we are and what we're doing, particularly with African Americans and people of color in general. So with that being said, Deshauna, if you can just tell us a little bit about yourself and kind of what ignited this spark in you to go into business for yourself. Like you have your hands in so many things. I know a lot of folks look at people like you and say, how she do all of that? I could just do one of those things,
Right.
make a documentary or start an online platform like Quality TV or have a magazine. I mean, all of these great things, hosted a show, a radio show. I would be amazingly, grateful. But
Yeah.
you've done all of these things. So tell us kind of what the journey has been like and what the spark was that got you started in this direction of being an entrepreneur and going down this path.
I would say it kind of started in college, and that was before college. I never really saw myself as an entrepreneur. I used to like to start a lot of things. My mom would always, I would, put concoctions together and try to sell it to my family. I would collect rocks and try to sell that. But
Mhm.
just like a lot of kids, when you grow up around a family that they just work, I sort of thought I would do that. But when I was in college, I really had this spark to want to start a business, and I wanted to start a magazine initially. And my first idea was to start like a girls magazine because I was an avid reader and avid writer growing up. I used to write short stories, and so much so that I remember being like in fourth grade. We had to write a very short, like one paragraph about ourselves, and then writing like a 10-page short story. I handed it in, and they were like, we only needed like a paragraph, and I was like a prima donna when it was published. I only published like two paragraphs of it of my entire short story. But I always loved to read. I always loved to write. I always loved news. I used to read the newspaper as a kid. I used to watch Meet the Press as a kid, and so. And I also used to subscribe to magazines like YM, 17. I paid for it with my own money. My parents did not get the magazines for me because I was always really good with money too. And so when I was in college, I remember looking back on my youth and thinking, wow, I wish there was a magazine that really, focused on Black girls. And so I would look at the magazine and the articles and the hairstyles and the makeup and all those things really didn't relate to me. The girls didn't look anything like me, and the stories didn't really talk about my experience. And so my initial ideal in college was to start a girls magazine. But after college and after working for a couple of newspapers, I realized I wanted to start something else. And it really came because when I was 18, my boyfriend was murdered. And when I was working for a newspaper, one of the things they had me do was go out and interview parents whose sons were murdered or involved in some type of activity, something that was, they got arrested or someone's killed, and I would go into the hood and interview somebody and like, how was, Tommy and all that, and I hated doing that, and I hated writing those stories. And so I really didn't feel empowered. I actually felt powerless, and sometimes I would go back to my room and cry because I would think about those people who I was interviewing in their laws. And so that's where the ideal came about. Okay, what do I want to do now? But it really wasn't until I volunteered for AmeriCorps in Buffalo, New York, where I was really working in the community. And I really said, okay, I really want to marry journalism with activism because I really felt like that was the way to go versus how traditional news works. If it bleeds, it leads. So whenever something negative or bad happens, that is the story that's on the front page, and people gravitate to it, unfortunately. And I really wanted to start something where I felt like people can make a difference, and what's happening in the world, but what can we do about it to make it better? And that was the whole purpose of Empower. So I moved to the DC area at 24 years old, 5 years ago. Just kidding. And last week, yeah. And so I remember when I was looking for a job, because I'd never worked for a magazine before, but I wanted to start a magazine. I only written articles, and I worked for a newspaper as an editor at like 22. But the magazine industry is very different. And so I ended up finding this job that I ended up getting, and I remember praying to God that I wanted to start a business, I wanted to start a magazine, and I wanted this job to be my last job. And it was it was a really great opportunity. I learned everything about the magazine industry, but at the same time, it was like the worst I've ever had my entire life. The CEO and I did not get along, and it was one of those, okay, God, I think this is what I'm supposed to do, but it was just so many trials being there. But I learned everything. I was in charge of the entire magazine by myself, from writing articles to assigning freelance writers to be in charge of a budget to selling the advertising to laying it out to basically literally doing everything, to taking it to the printer and printing it out, to doing the social media. I learned how to do video at this job. And literally, they gave me classes on videography, and I learned Final Cut Pro. I learned everything at this job, and every time I wanted to quit, I ended up learning something new, and okay, this is why I'm still here. And that's sort of how my journey initially got started to be an entrepreneur. And that was my last job. It was, so.
Congratulations. One thing that I heard in your story, Deshauna, is a sense of allowing your passion to lead you through this process. Your passion for Black folks, for the people, for social justice and issues around activism. So when you think about just activism and the way you've been able to impact communities and just people with the different platforms that you've been on, is there one particular story that stands out to you that like just really resonated with you when you decided to do it, whether it was on Empower or even WPFW?
I'm trying to think, is there one story? There are several, and sometimes it just could be like an email. I would say maybe Moms Interrupted, the documentary that I did, was probably very impactful for me because when I was working for a newspaper, and after I stopped working for a newspaper, I remember thinking I would never interview another mom again who lost their child to gun violence because I hated doing those type of stories. And as I mentioned, my boyfriend was murdered, and when I was 17, my cousin was murdered. When I was 23, my uncle was murdered. And so I've experienced a lot of loss, and that's the last thing I wanted to do. But in 2013, I remember going to a CBC annual conference, and a woman who was talking from Chicago, she started this organization that dealt with moms who lost their children to gun violence. And so she was saying that we keep talking about how we're going to, end gun violence in our communities, but no one talks to the mothers. People talk to the legislators, people talk to law enforcement, people talk to clergy, talk to everybody else, but they don't talk to us. The people who are affected the most are the moms, and we're the ones who can really make an impact if you just hear our stories. And right then and there, when I had my camera filming her, I was like, I'm going to do a documentary. And that's what I said in my head. Now, at that time, I'm thinking, gosh, how am I going to find these women? How am I going to get this together? And literally, I always tell people, when you put something like in the atmosphere, things just sort of work out. And literally 2 days later, I get a random email, an invitation to this event called A Mother's Tea. And it basically is an event for moms and dads who lost their children to gun violence in the D.C. area.
That was a sign.
I know. I had never, ever I've never been invited again either. Just that 1 year. I don't know how in the world I got on this email list. I have absolutely no idea. And this event had been going on for like 10 years. And I was invited that 1 year.
Wow.
I found out like maybe the event was happening like 6 days, so I had like less than a week to try to see if I can go. So I ended up contacting the organizer and seeing if I could, go to the event. And literally, it was hard for me to get in touch with this guy. 2 days before the event, I was finally able to work a deal out with him to go there, have a sign-up sheet, and talk to the moms. And when I got there, they had a table for me, and they announced me, when they were eating, and so many moms came up to me. About 30 women signed up, another 30. I think I chose about 7 women for the interview. And all for basically from October until December of 2013, I filmed, and then most of 2014, I was editing, and it was released in November 2014. And the women, they just want to tell their story. And that was very impactful for me, because sometimes we say we're not going to do something ever again because for whatever reason it might be. But even if those women got something out of the documentary, it was worth doing. And for them, they just need to talk about it, and they need to heal. And while I felt uncomfortable talking to them about their loss, for them, it helped them heal. And so that was a very impactful moment for me. And honestly, I feel like everything with the Empower Players Awards and the people who say, oh my God, I'm leaving this event, I'm going to do more in my community, or for Equality TV, when a mom says, I've been looking for a children's cartoon with a character looks like my little son, who's, a black kid, and they're happy. So it could be something as big as like Mom Interrupted, or it could be as simple as, a cartoon with the black face, basically.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, to follow up on that, tell us a little bit about the Empower Players Awards that your company does, and then I also want us to get into Quality TV, which is making waves all over the world. So tell us a little bit about those projects.
So with Empower Players Awards, it's something I've been wanting to do seriously since I was 23 years old. So I came with the idea for my magazine when I was in Buffalo. And I remember writing out what I wanted to do with the magazine. And number one on the list was having an award ceremony to honor everyday people. And the reason I wanted to honor everyday people is because when I was in Buffalo as a AmeriCorps Vista volunteer, I met so many people who were like working like minimum wage jobs with a fixed income, and they were doing this really awesome work in the community where, I mean, they didn't ask for anything. They just opened their homes or whatever they did to give back. And I'm like, these people, they're not asking for, praise. They just know that this is what needs to be done in this community. And so many, many years it was sitting on the back of my head to do it. And a friend of mine, I was meeting with her once, and so I was telling her about my idea, and I was like, I can't do it this year because we're not making enough money. And so she was like, you gotta do it. You got to figure it out. And so that was 2014, and I really stepped out on faith, literally. The planning was like a total disaster. I mean, oh my God, up to the day of, I just didn't know whether or not it was going to work out, but it all worked out at the end, and I'm very thankful, and the people who were on were very thankful too. And so we just honor everyday people who give back to the community. people who give their time, talent to make a difference. And that's something that's important to me because you look at other people who get awards, like I'm not knocking Ebony 100 or the Root 100, but typically those people, they're politicians or they have a huge Twitter following or whatever.
Right.
They're popular basically. But no,
Mhm.
these are everyday people
Right.
who are not famous. They may not even have a Twitter page, but
Mhm.
they're working in the trenches in the community, and those are people who I want to honor, and that's what we do with the Empower Players Awards.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And we can actually vouch for
Yes.
just how wonderful the award ceremony was
Mhm.
because we attended and it
Mhm.
was absolutely phenomenal.
It's amazing.
Just what you've been able to do and just to see
Mhm.
the impact that you've had on the people who
Mhm.
receive the awards and just just you putting the event on and then knowing that you stepped out on faith
Mhm.
and didn't necessarily have all the pieces in place prior to doing it. I mean that's astounding all to itself.
Mhm.
You just move, and that's one thing that I really and we really admire about you. You just keep on
Oh,
moving,
Mhm.
but so
keep
do y'all. So do
on.
y'all. I think too. When you're an entrepreneur, you're kind of crazy. You cannot be sane as an entrepreneur because the things you step out on faith doing is like really. It's like y'all's event. I know this is about me, but like we had your your black was it Black Marriage Day or whatever. I mean, you pulled it together in like a month and a half or 2 months. I mean, and it was like
I know.
awesome.
Yeah.
So, if you put
Right.
it out there, you just have, you get it done.
That's
Mhm,
right. That's
mhm,
right.
mhm,
And so I mean the thing that stands out to me is just being able to really attach to your vision and claim your vision and really push forward, like you said, without having all of the answers and
mhm.
all of the how to for the vision. So tell us a little bit about the vision for Quality TV and tell us what Quality TV is all about, and what inspired it and where people can find it and all of that kind of stuff.
Sure. So, Quality Means Truth in Swahili. It's an internet streaming network. We are dedicated to the issues, the stories, and the culture of the global Black community. And we have content literally from all the world. We have Afro-Brazilian. We have some films from Paris. We have a brother from Germany who has content on the platform. We have a sister from Brazil who has content, of course, African American content, Nigerian cartoon called Bino Fino. We'll be getting another African-inspired cartoon from the UK in a couple of weeks. And
Wow.
so I came up with the idea, honestly, I came up with the idea probably about 4 years ago. And you think about technology, the way technology works. At the time when I applied for this a particular business plan competition, I was a finalist, but they were like, we're not sure about the future of streaming. We don't know if this is going to really take off. So I wasn't accepted, and I had a Job moment after that. I had a lot of things happening in my life. My mother-in-law got sick. My dad got sick. I got sick. My dog became paralyzed. I mean, just a whole bunch of crazy things happened
Mhm.
in my life, and so I kind of put that idea on the back burner. And then in 2004, life started to turn around a little bit, and then I found out about this other business plan competition. The only thing was like the deadline was in 2 days, and I was like, should I really think about this whole quality TV thing again? And
Mhm.
I talked to my husband about it, and I was like, should I even do this? He was upstairs on his computer. It's like, Deshauna, you never know what will happen. Just go for it. So reluctantly, literally, I went through the process and applied for this other business plan competition, and I became a finalist. And I literally
Yeah.
put together the application in 2 days, and I ended up winning the competition, actually getting the most votes, and I won $20,000. And it was interesting because during that time, um, I had bought the name Quality TV, well, Quality.tv and QualityTV.com many years, well, about 3 or 4 years ago. But when I did not become a finalist for this other business plan competition, I let the domain name go. So literally, I went in, I found it was still available, and I bought it. And
Wow.
yeah, and put together like a little cheap, WordPress site
Mhm.
Mhm.
and called it a day. And it's really been great because Quality TV is really it's really about it's about so many things. So it's really about having a space where Black people can watch content that's relevant to their lives and their stories. That's not monolithic. That's not stereotypical and negative. And talks about the same old type of stories or narrative that we typically see in mainstream media. Like we're very purposeful about the content. We handpick all the content on the platform because we want people to know that this isn't like, technically a Netflix or like a black blockbuster where every black film that ever came out is on a
Right.
platform. Like, no, like this is quality content. They've been to film festivals. They're award-winning films. And so it's really a way to bring the community together, and it's also a way for black filmmakers to make money because unfortunately black filmmakers are least likely to get distribution, and so this is a way for black filmmakers to make money off of their great work. So we're doing more than just being entertaining, but we're also a way for filmmakers to make money, and I pay them every quarter, and since I paid them twice so far, and even during beta, people sometimes when you're in beta, people think that someone's get swindled. Like, no, I pay people during beta just like I would if it was the official launch, and this has been really interesting. Like, you put something out there, you don't know whether or not people will watch it. People are saying, well, black people only want to watch certain type of things, maybe like on the negative side, but we're proving that black people want really intelligent content.
So tell me this, when I think about something as huge as quality TV, and it really is huge. It's a huge endeavor. I mean, just thinking about putting the platform together and all of the stuff that goes into such, at least in my world, high technology, right? To
Right.
put that out there and being able to, support filmmakers and being profitable for your company and so forth. What advice would you give folks out there who also have really big dreams and really big visions, but they certainly are not specialists in all of the different components that it takes to bring something together like that?
Right.
How is it, if there's one piece of advice that you would give, what is it that you were able to do to be able to get all of the working pieces to come together when, I'm assuming you're not able to do all of these things and understand all of these things perfectly. How do you bring something so huge down to bite-sized pieces that you can actually digest and then create this beautiful thing that you've created online, quality TV?
Yeah, it's a process to put the pieces together. When I came up
Hmm.
with the ideal, I did not know who was going to like build my platform. It was basically just myself with an ideal. But it's like you, through your lifetime, you meet a lot of people, and people who know someone who knows how to do whatever. And that
Hmm.
has been how I've been able to kind of put the pieces together. And I always tell people, like, finding my team for Quality TV has been very difficult. It's almost like finding a spouse in a way.
Yeah.
And early on, myself, I wasn't like that. But some women, they're maybe hitting 30 and they're just like, I just need to find, a man, and the first thing smoking that walks up to them, they try to see if that could be their husband. And I was kind of doing that in a way with Quality TV when it came to finding my team. Anybody who was interested, even if they didn't really know everything that they were doing correctly, it's like, well, let me give them a chance because I need, a
Yeah.
man, and it did not work out. And so now I'm more selective, just like I'm selective with the films. I'm very selective with the people who I bring on board. It's almost like a marriage. You meet someone, you test out the waters, and then I marry them. And so it's taken, a year or so to really find the right people to be a part. And the best way that you can kind of make your vision come together is first by expressing your vision. One of the things I think that people like, well, I'm afraid to tell you what I want to do because somebody's gonna steal it. 9 times out of 10, most people are too lazy. I'm just keeping it real. I'm not okay, as far as sounds mean, but but
No, keep it real. Keep it real.
the reality is that unfortunately there are people out there who have a lot of dreams and visions, but they I don't know, they may not have the will to actually believe they can do it, so they don't. There may be a better way to say that they're lazy. Because I've met a lot of people who said, I want to do that, but I didn't do it. I would say maybe about literally 10 people, 15 people have emailed me in the past year saying, I was going to start that. Okay, but
Real.
they didn't. And the difference between them and myself was like they were probably thinking it was a daunting task. So did I. I'm thinking, who the hell am I going to start a streaming network? Like, what is wrong with you?
Right.
But once I started putting out there the atmosphere, this is what I was doing, then the right people come along. My team that I have now, I found them via they found me via Facebook or Twitter. Like literally, I get private messages on Facebook. Oh, I'm a tech person, or I'm good at social media, or whatever the case may be, and I kind of vet them and see whether or not they can be on a team. But if it weren't for me just putting myself out there, then there would be no quality TV. So my main suggestion would be to just put it out there and don't worry about someone stealing your idea, because 9 times out of 10, unless you're telling your idea to a billionaire, if you tell your idea to the average person, they may have that same ideal, but they may not have the will to do it. And the other thing is like just don't give up, because anybody, I mean, both of you have started things too, and you know how hard it is to start anything and keep it going, because you have your ups and downs, you know, way ups and way, I mean, down, in the gutter down. And sometimes you wonder, why am I doing this? Like, this is hard work. And a lot of people quit. Some guy interviewed me for a podcast 2 days ago, and he was saying that he was surprised that I was still pushing forward with quality TV, because he said he would have given up by now. He doesn't even know. He only knows like 10% of the stuff I've gone through with quality TV. He has no idea the real heartache of trying to start a tech company with no money. And but I just tell people, just don't give up. If you really feel like this is something you're meant to do, then do it. You never know, where it can take you. And I think half the battle is just not quitting, because you're gonna have those low moments, but you have to keep going, because eventually things will work out.
Yeah, well, I just want to say, I mean, I think that one of the things, I mean, we've talked about this earlier on this evening, but one of the things that has really always stood out to me about Deshauna, for those who don't know, we respect her and we respect her work, and we've seen her online, but she is my good sister friend. And one of the things that has always stood out to me about you is your absolute focus and persistence. Like there is always, even in your process, I mean, like you said, we all go through our ups and downs, we have our highs and lows and our doubts and so forth, but you just push through. I mean, you push through and you just keep moving. And I've always said that to you, Heaven. I'm like, Deshauna just be going. She just keeps putting one foot in front of the other. And I cannot express to you enough how much you've been a motivator for me, how much you have inspired me. And so I know that if you've done that for me, I know that you're doing that for hundreds of thousands of people all over who are capturing you, whether it be through Quality TV and all of the wonderful people that you're uplifting and exposing to the world through that, whether it be through Empower Magazine and reading things that are insightful and that are helping folks to understand what's happening in our world and keeping people attuned. She has this, you have this wonderful radio show where you're giving people platforms and you're exposing issues. There's so much that you've done, your documentaries, that you just don't even understand the breadth and the depth. Maybe you do, but if you don't, I just want to make sure
I appreciate it.
how much ground you've covered, and you still are you have so much, further to go in terms of all that you were going to manifest in your life. So I just want to thank you, because like you said, so many people do not stick with a vision. They don't even get a vision, or they get a little snippet of it and are like, let me just let that go, because it's too scary to even think about holding it in their minds, and so you've just been a model in so many ways, for women, for just human beings,
for men.
you know what I'm saying?
For women and
yes,
men.
right, women and men. So thank you so very much for just sticking to what God has put in you, so that you can do what you came to do. And in the meantime, you're elevating everybody. You're putting life into everybody as you walk your path and really shining light. So before we end, can you just make sure that you just tell everybody how they can find you in the various outlets and where they can come and support and learn more about you and your company and your projects?
Thank you. Well, thanks for having me on, being the first one again. So with Empower Magazine, it's empowermagazine.com. If on Facebook and Twitter, it's just the hashtag Empower or the Empower Magazine. Just look up Empower Magazine on Google, Twitter and Facebook and Google Plus, and you'll find us. For my radio show, it's every Thursday from 2 to 3 on WPFW. If you just go to WPFW.org, you can listen live if you're not in the DC area. And last but not least is Quality TV. It's KWELI.TV. and you can learn more about what we're doing with our streaming network.
Awesome,
Okay.
awesome. Yeah, so everybody, please, please, please make sure that you support and check her out and follow Deshauna because she is doing big things, going to even bigger places. And we again thank you so much for joining us this evening, Deshauna.
Yeah, thank you, and we salute you.
Oh, thank you.
All right, shout out to Deshauna Spencer.
All right.
All right, that's it. Bye.
Bye.